Cam Newton makes bold claim about Browns' motives, handling of Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders remains listed at the Cleveland Browns' third quarterback. NFL quarterback turned outspoken media personality Cam Newton's latest headline-grabbing take centered on Shedeur Sanders. The rookie quarterback is listed third on the Cleveland Browns' depth chart, despite the recent benching of veteran signal caller Joe Flacco. Dillon Gabriel was named the starter for Cleveland's Week 5 matchup with the Minnesota Vikings, and Flacco will serve as the backup. On Wednesday, Sanders was asked about the quarterback shuffle. The former Colorado standout pantomimed answers to reporters in the locker room. The move came on the heels of NFL analyst Rex Ryan's previous criticisms of Sanders' outspoken nature. Sanders' action sparked varied reactions. Newton's takeaway revolved around his premise that the Browns are not putting the young quarterback in a position to succeed. Will Browns' move from Joe Flacco to Dillon Gabriel pay dividends? I don't think they want Shedeur Sanders to be successful in Cleveland, Newton said during a recent edition of his 4th&1 podcast. Because if you were to say, I want Cleveland to have a person or a figure to have every chance to be successful, Shedeur has been the opposite of that. Newton then cited Sanders' preseason. The 23-year-old threw 2 touchdowns in an exhibition win over the Carolina Panthers. He sat out the Browns' second preseason game with an injury and largely struggled in the exhibition finale against the Los Angeles Rams. When you give Shedeur an opportunity to play with viable options around him, what does he do? He performs. The next opportunity for him to perform the following week, he didn't help his case because he had an injury. The following week from there, if you want to see a real clear-cut identifier if he's capable or not, you put him with the ones. Or you put him with the valuable twos. Don't put him with the trash. Newton then floated a theory about the Browns' motives, claiming the franchise wants to keep him on the roster for business purposes. This is my conspiracy theory about the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders is extremely talented and well and capable of being a player in the NFL. But I do not think a lot of teams are willing to risk what's mounting in circus-like attention that he brings naturally, Newton said. So therefore the Browns are stuck with this idea, if we cut Shedeur that would be bad for business. Business being, he's good for business on our roster. If we cut him, he's going to be picked up by somebody. When have we ever had a person on our roster to move the needle? The Cleveland Browns have never had a player in modern day that pushes the needle like Shedeur Sanders. Click here to get the Fox News app. Flacco threw 2 interceptions in last week's 34-10 loss to the Detroit Lions. The Browns entered Week 5 with a 1-3 record. Follow Fox News digital sports coverage on X, and subscribe to the Fox News Sports Huddle newsletter. The NFL thrives on chaos, controversy, and conversation. Few people understand that better than Cam Newton, the former MVP quarterback who has spent his career both thrilling fans and fighting doubters. Never one to hold back, Newton sent shockwaves through the football world this week when he lobbed a bold claim about the Cleveland Browns' treatment of rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. According to Newton, the Browns' handling of Sanders isn't about on-field performance at all. It's about politics, branding, and protecting organizational pride. And coming from someone who knows all too well what it feels like to be misunderstood, overlooked, and managed through optics rather than talent, Newton's perspective is more than just gossip. This is the story of a claim that's shaking up Cleveland, reigniting debates about how the NFL handles young stars, and putting Shedeur Sanders right back in the spotlight. Newton steps into the spotlight, again. Cam Newton's relationship with the NFL has always been complicated. Drafted number 1 overall, he revolutionized the position with his blend of size, speed, and charisma. Yet for every MVP run and Super Bowl appearance, there was also criticism of his demeanor, his celebrations, his fashion choices, and the very way he carried himself. So when Newton appeared on his podcast this week and decided to address Shedeur Sanders' situation in Cleveland, the moment carried more weight than if it had come from a standard talking head. Let me tell y'all something about what's going on with Shedeur, Newton said, his voice rising in that familiar mix of preacher-like conviction and locker room storytelling. This ain't just about football. This is about control. This is about the Browns making sure everybody knows they run the show. Not Shedeur, not Dion, not the Sanders brand. Don't get it twisted. Those words hit like a blitzing linebacker. The Browns' quarterback carousel. To understand Newton's point, you have to rewind to the Browns' quarterback saga of the past month. Cleveland shocked many when they named rookie Dillon Gabriel their Week 5 starter over Sanders and veteran Joe Flacco. On paper, it was a surprising move. Sanders, with his pedigree and polish, seemed destined for a faster track to the field. But coaches insisted it was a competition thing and pointed to Gabriel's grasp of the offense. Sanders, meanwhile, stayed silent, literally. In a bizarre twist, he responded to media questions by miming answers rather than speaking, a playful yet pointed protest that went viral. That mime act became a cultural moment, half joke, half clapback, and fully a symbol of how tightly wound his relationship with the organization already was. For Newton, though, the mime wasn't a sideshow. It was evidence. Shedeur knew exactly what he was doing, Newton explained. That wasn't immaturity, that was communication. He was saying, "Y'all won't let me talk. Y'all won't let me be me. Fine, I'll show you without words." And the Browns didn't like that one bit. A question of motives. Newton's claim boils down to this: the Browns aren't benching Sanders for football reasons, they're trying to manage perception. "Look, Shedeur is Deion's son," Newton said. "He comes with cameras, he comes with expectations, he comes with a story that's bigger than football. And for some folks in those front offices, that's scary. They don't want the player being bigger than the team. So instead of leaning into it, they control it. That's what you're seeing in Cleveland." The suggestion is explosive because it pokes at one of the NFL's unspoken tensions: the balance of power between player brands and organizational control. The league has long celebrated star power, but only so long as it doesn't challenge the hierarchy of team-first culture. Newton knows that firsthand. His dabbing, Superman celebrations, and fashion statements once put him at odds with traditionalists who felt he was overshadowing the Carolina Panthers. Now, he sees history repeating with Sanders. How Shedeur fits into the narrative. If Cam Newton is right, Shedeur Sanders may be caught in a battle he didn't sign up for. Coming out of Colorado, Sanders was touted as one of the most polished quarterback prospects of his generation. His mechanics, poise, and ability to read defenses earned him praise from scouts. But his last name also carried weight. Being the son of Deion Prime Time, Sanders meant expectations, both fair and unfair, would follow him everywhere. Some saw him as a prodigy. Others saw him as a symbol of hype.